Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, shockingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everybody. It is Tuesday, July 15th, 2025. This is a live stream 1212. Double dose of 12 tonight. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And then tonight, we're going to dive on in and take a first look at Rivers of London in Liberty's Shadow from Chaosium Inc. This is the latest supplement for the Rivers of London role-playing game, and it brings the action over to our side of the pond. So very nice. For some strange reason, we're getting this. I don't know if you're getting it on your side of the chat here. It is some sort of top fans or something. It's like, okay. Don't know how I might be able to turn that off because it's like showing everybody's number one as soon as they make a comment. It's like, okay, all right. Like I said, super casual around here. We are certainly not engaged in anything along the lines of, I don't know, rocket surgery or any stretchy imagination. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And of course, because this is a live stream, there is the aforementioned chat where everybody's a top fan. I have to look into what the hell happened there. Maybe I'm just seeing it on my side. I'm not sure if people in chat are seeing that on their side, but there is chat available. You must be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part in chat. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you check that box and you want to say howdy, maybe get a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my very best to respond. First out the gate tonight is our good friend of the show, the Madman. Sean O'Donnell is also with us, as is Wallona's Cave, Lord Cost 2000, Coco B, Kathy Evans is rounding out chat as I speak. And then I would not be surprised if the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D is lurking in the shadows with the glittery banhammer. She is our other chat moderator. Lona's Cave said, hey, I got my degree in rocket surgery years ago. It's legit. Or at least my student loans are. What was the movie? I'm trying to remember the movie where... Oh, I can't remember the actor's name. Zachary Quinto. He's a rocket scientist working for some financial organization or whatever. And they're asking him, what his degree is in. And he's basically explaining, yes, he is a rocket scientist without actually saying rocket scientist. I always thought that was kind of funny. Yes, Sarah D is with us tonight, as is Gary Mountford. I believe this might be a first-time visit in chat for Gary. The name's not ringing any bells. They are giving us greetings from Australia. Well, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Sarah D says the top fan stuff is visible over here too. On our side, at the top of the chat box, it shows how much XP we've earned towards it. Runeforged Tabletop Gaming is popping on in. I've got a news piece about Runeforged Tabletop Gaming a little bit later. Asks, is it margin call? I don't know. I got to be honest, I don't think I've ever actually seen the entire movie. I've seen that scene. And who else is in that? I think Demi Moore is in the scene. Just floating that out there. I don't know. All right, let me see. So I clicked on top fans. La 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 la. Well, okay. So strangely enough, I didn't turn this on. No idea. I guess we are going to just have to deal with this tonight. Hey, good old YouTube always throwing something out there at me. And I'm like, what the hell's that? All right, let's jump on into the news because there is a fantasy game of strategy and political intrigue, which has caught my eye from Incredible Dream Studios. And here's a lowdown on Kinfire Council. All right, come on, news. There we go. Thank you. What the hell is going on tonight? Kinfire Council is a competitive game of strategy and politics. As a member of the council, you've been charged with rebuilding the great city of Dinlux and defending it from the dangers of these starless nights. Take turns sending your workers to collect resources, upgrade buildings, and construct new Kinfire lighthouses in the surrounding area, while the cult of Altan interferes with your plans. Damn you, cult of Altan! Always interfering with my plans and undermining my authority. You'll vote on important city policies, arrest cultists, and dispatch your seeker to thwart threats looming over the final bastion of civilization. Once again, the great city of Dinlux. While you vie for power among yourselves, you also track the cult's progress. If they win the game, then the cult conspirator ends up being the victor. Will you be a benevolent leader working together with your fellow council members? Or will your plans take a more sinister turn? Kinfire Council is for 2 to 6 players, ages 14 and up, plays in 90 to 120 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $59.99. When it arrives in stores on August 12th. I do believe this is also a Gen Con release. But I got to say, it caught my eye. I thought, hey, you know what? That was kind of interesting looking. So you're trying to lead a fantasy city. I guess you're rebuilding the city. But then you have a hidden traitor within your midst. Or maybe not. I would think maybe it depends on the number of players. It's for 2 to 6. I don't know. I don't know if you could have a secret traitor in your midst when it's just 2 of you and you know you're not the traitor. Coco B says they've seen this top fans pop up not too long ago on other streams. It's just a YouTube engagement thingy. Yes, I figured that. You know, everybody like, hey, do I get a badge? Where's my achievement? People are always chasing achievements on Steam with games that they're sort of like, they're okay. Kevin R. Smith is with us in chat tonight. Welcome, Kevin. Good to see you once again. Moonride Long, currently up for pre-order from my pals over at Kobold Press, is Dungeons Deep. Here's the skinny. Trapped, stocked, ready to rock. In a world of high fantasy adventure, every crumbling ziggurat abandoned mine, or unassuming hole in the ground is a potential dungeon. Dungeons Deep delivers 16 drop in dungeons designed to fit neatly into your Dungeons and Dragons campaign, or to quickly expand an existing dungeon of your own design. Unleash your crack team of Dungeoneers and enjoy the story. Dungeons Deep is an essential addition to your GM library. Challenge players with 16 prepared dungeons stocked with loot, traps, factions, and plenty of enemies. Each dungeon offers tiered monster loadouts for low, medium, and high level PCs. So you have 48 options actually available. Explore ruined temples, slime filled caverns, a Feywild oasis, and more. Run them as written or pick what works with your campaign and leave the rest. These dungeons are ready. Your heroes might not be. Right now, you can pre-order the 176-page hardcover for $39.99, or pre-order the PDF for $19.99. My understanding, this is probably an August release. Maybe we see it at Gen Con. I know right now, I think Kobold Press is possibly shipping the Labyrinth books, the 2 Labyrinth books that they kickstarted. I am very curious to take a peek at those. I'm pretty sure we'll get review copies to take a look at, and we'll probably end up getting an opportunity to take a look at this as well. Robert Santon's popped on into chat. Good to see you once again. All right, on with more news. Now available in print and PDF is Kevin Crawford's Ashes Without Number. And here's the latest from Sine Nomine Publishing. The old world burned, whether in the glare of nuclear fire, the arson of a civil war, or the blood-sweating fever of an undead plague. Everything that once made the world sane and safe has been charred to ash. Since when has our world been sane and safe? This must be some fantasy world out there. Not Earth. Now you and your friends fight to secure the last blackened fragments of the old world, struggling with the hazards of a land turned savage and people turned worse, whether facing bandits, zombies, flesh-eating mutants, or terrible invaders from beyond the stars. Only luck and desperate courage can save you and all you love from becoming yet one more cinder smoldering on the pyre. Ashes Without Number is both a game set after the end and a toolkit to help you build the apocalypse you desire. Just as with its compatible sister games, Stars Without Number for science fiction, Worlds Without Number for fantasy, and Cities Without Number for cyberpunk, Ashes Without Number gives you an old-school Renaissance-inspired game chassis and a vast swath of system-agnostic tools for designing tragic destruction and desperate struggles. Within its pages, you'll find a complete OSR game system for building survivors and sending them to face the horrors of their new world, including guidance on blending other Without Number games into your play. Genre-specific support for near-future after-the-fall tales of social collapse, invasion, and global disasters, Deadlands games of zombie hordes and beleaguered enclaves, and mutant wasteland campaigns of post-nuclear adventure in lands of mutant peril and mysterious tech. Enclave rules for system-agnostic modeling of competing outposts, tribal villages, and refugee camps, all struggling to survive a world where there is never enough of anything but death. We had an abundance of death here on the planet. Mysterious devices and lost relics of the old world, strange tech for mutant wanderers to discover and misuse in their exploration of ancient ruins. Campaign design tools for both crisis-centered games of immediate survival in the face of total societal collapse and exploration-centered campaigns of seeking out the old world's remnants and recovering them for your home and allies. Myriad tags and random tables for building your post-apocalyptic adventures, flavoring your mutant perils and building interesting ruins and survivor enclaves for your PCs to encounter. All system agnostic and built with the Sine Nomine touch. Now, keep in mind, all of that is in the free copy you can get because, yes, as with just about all of the Without Number series, you can download a free edition of Ashes Without Number. Now, of course, if you want the deluxe edition, which I think has like 40 to 50 additional pages and obviously more content, some stuff that's not included in that basic edition, you can grab that 296-page hardcover with PDF over at DriveThruRPG for $69.99. If you just want to grab the PDF alone of that deluxe edition, it is $29.99. There's also an offset print edition, no doubt, probably very, very limited numbers, $84.99, but you must order from the Sine Nomine Publishing website. That is not through DriveThruRPG. Coco B says, I liked Worlds Without Number. The free copy was 350 pages. Pete Stracklate says, I have no Kevin Crawford books. I know I'm missing out. Join the club, my friend. Sadly, I don't have any either. I don't even have them in PDF. Although, obviously enough, I could go get the free PDFs. I don't think the free PDFs have art. And when we start getting into a couple of hundred pages of content, if there's no art, it's kind of like, yeah. Anyway, I know a lot of people are very excited about this. I'm kind of curious how this would work if I wanted to go with like a Gonzo apocalypse sort of thing. Sort of like the role-playing game that most people think Original Gamma World was, which it's not. Original Gamma World is certainly not as gonzo as people think it was. It was far more straightforward, a role-playing game. Yes, you had mutants and things like that, but yeah, I'm thinking more along the lines of, say, like Mutant Crawl Classics, which is aimed at kind of gonzo post-apocalyptic play. I think this is probably a bit more played straight as opposed to kind of the gonzo experience, but definitely worth a peek, especially keep in mind there's that basic edition, which is absolutely free. Might want to check that out before you get the deluxe edition. All right, on to our next news piece, now available in print and PDF from Bastionland Press and One EXP is Mythic Bastionland. Here's the scoop. Take the oath and venture into Mythic Bastionland, a tabletop RPG set in the imagined past of Into the Odd and Electric Bastionland, built on the same lightning-fast, ultra-streamlined rule system, designed by Chris McDowell and illustrated by Alex Sorensen. In Mythic Bastionland, you begin as a young knight-errant, seeking the glory to lead warbands, earn a place in court, and rule your own domain. Glory is found in hunting the myths of this world, manifesting them into reality while protecting the realm from their strange influence. Each player is one of 72 knights, with personal equipment, a unique ability, and a passion that fuels their spirit. As your glory grows, you might eventually embark on the legendary City Quest, an impossible challenge to find the city itself, a shining metropolis seen only in dreams. Almost like a grail you'd be searching for. The streamlined rules support a campaign of exploration where you traverse your own hex-mapped realm filled with myths, each slowly revealing their omens as you journey through their land. The book comes with 72 of these myths, enough to know there's always a new surprise hidden in the woods. Hex crawling, domain management, aging, exploration, and mass battles are all handled through fast, streamlined mechanics. The rules of Mythic Bastionland are fast-paced and rules light, encouraging creative problem solving and decisive combat. The game is perfect for groups of 1 to 5 players plus a referee, and is designed for both ongoing campaigns that span seasons and ages and fast-paced one-shots that focus in on a particular adventure of a company of knights. Mythic Bastionland is inspired by British folklore, Arthurian legends, and our own myths of the medieval era. Especially interested in the lies we tell about history, whether by misconception or design. Just as this game was written in 21st century Britain, this world was born from the stories told in industrial and electric Bastionland. It's a past that never was, brought to life, and a place you can visit if you know the way. The 212-page hardcover with PDF carries an MSRP of $68. If you want to just grab the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG, it is $24. I am not overly familiar with Electric Bastionland. Into the Odd, I reviewed the revised edition that Free League Publishing came out with. It was all right. I know a lot of people really dig Into the Odd, and I can understand. But to me, it felt like a mashup of a lot of concepts we've seen in other role-playing games. Like Maslita! Just to name one. Now, I'm not knocking this at all. I'm just saying I'm not overly familiar with a lot of the other Chris McDowell content that has come out. So there is that. Pete Strakowitz says, they agree with me. Art is fundamental. 5 free downloads is one heck of a score, especially Crawford material. Oh, yeah. Once again, I am not trying to dissuade anybody from getting those basic free editions of any of the Without Numbers series. It's just, I tend to read RPG books kind of amazingly enough in one sitting, sometimes two. And yes, I am talking about 400-page books. So I think without any artwork, I'd be kind of like, yeah. Pete Strakowitz asks, who has Mythic Bastionland? Anybody? Anybody? They were on the fine line to back this, but sadly, I guess they did not. Womp, womp, womp. Not that you can't get it now. All right, on to our last news piece. Hey, so we were talking about something that's inspired by Arthurian legend. Well, let's dive on into some Arthurian legend, because Runeforged Tabletop Gaming has released Shadows of Camelot for Shadow Dark. Here's what I know. Shadows of Camelot is a noble dark campaign setting that integrates stories of King Arthur and Robin Hood with Shadow Dark's default setting. It's designed to take characters from levels 1 to 10. Shadows of Camelot is an 82-page, fully hyperlinked PDF with everything you need to run a post-Arthurian campaign in the realm of Albion, including 27 thematic points of interest, including the mysterious Isle of Avalon and the crumbling ruins of Camelot. Dozens of new and familiar foes, including the Green Knight, the questing beast, and the fell enchantress Morgana Le Fay. Several powerful new magical items, including Merlin's staff, a cursed Excalibur, and the legendary Divine Chalice. Yeah, that reminds me of something. It's on the tip of my tongue. You'll also find a level 1 adventure, Tomb of the Headless Knight, designed to introduce players to the realm of Albion. Rules for charity, a replacement for carousing that better fits the noble dark tone at the setting, a concise overview of Albion's relevant history, including the fall of Camelot and its aftermath, 37 pieces of incredible old-school inspired art from a variety of talented artists, including Runehammer, yes, Hankering for an Ale, the basic expert Dean Spencer, and many more. Also includes a player and GM facing map, or I guess I'll say player and GM facing maps, plural, as standalone image files for both the region of Albion itself and the dungeon featured in the level 1 adventure. This 82-page PDF, it is not available in print as of yet, is currently available over at DriveThruRPG for $9.99. If you have any questions whatsoever about Shadows of Camelot, Runeforged Tabletop Gaming is hanging out in chat. Ask away. Alrighty, so that is it for the news tonight. So we were talking a little bit about two games inspired by, well, one is a core game, the other is a supplement, inspired by Arthurian legend. How many of you saw the Green Knight movie that was out not too long ago? And what did you think of it? I remember I watched it, and there were things that really struck me about the movie that I really liked. And then there were other things about it that I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, really? It sort of weird. James Mitchell is with us in chat. Welcome aboard. And Captain Finity, Time Travel Police, has pulled up the squad car and hopped on out to join us in chat. Runeforged Tabletop Gaming says, I did. It's one of the inspirations for the book. It's a really interesting movie. Definitely artsy. Pete Straklich said they enjoyed The Green Knight. Remember when they came out with a role-playing game for it? Pete Straklich says, but I like weird stuff. Yeah, Pete Straklich is always just trolling across Tubi, looking for movies that I've included in our brief intermissions, which are usually real works of art. Heavy sarcasm there. All right, not all of them. Some of them are good movies. Some of them are kind of cult classic, but a lot of them are just trash. James Mitchell says, love the style of The Green Knight. Some of the narrative choices weren't the best. I would agree with you right on the money with that. And I like the story of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. I think it's a great example of giving one of Arthur's knights, one of his most famous knights, a bit of a personality that might not necessarily jive with the chivalric outlook that we see with a lot of the Arthurian stories. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. As I mentioned, that is it for the news tonight. Of course, talked about DriveThruRPG a few times there. Don't forget the gaming gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit DriveThruRPG, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banners. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get 5% of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do go a long way to keeping thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find the Gaming Gang to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can support the outlet in a couple of ways. First, you can make a one-time donation by way of PayPal, or you can join our Patreon and become a monthly member. And I always like to give shout outs to our Patreon members. So big thank you to our $5 level members, Gustavo Cavalho, Jason Lawman, Caval, Kevin R. Smith, Marius Smith, Sean O'Donnell, and Talzek. Our $10 members are Dan Webb, Game Cat, Pete Strakulich, RPG Munch, Tessie Trekkie, and Tier 2 DM. And our $25 level members are Agile Monk and the Madman. So thank you very, very much. Your support helps keep this channel going, the website going, me going. Pete Strakulich says a young kid who robs the Green Knight really stole the movie for them. Don't remember that. It's been a while since I saw it. But anywho, so thank you kindly to all of you out there who help support the Gaming Gang as well as the gaminggang.com. A lot of folks out there forget, or maybe they don't realize there is a website. There is the gaminggang.com. I mention it a few times every show, but not a ton. And we pull in on average about 8 to 11,000 unique visitors a day. So I'm not running a website over on like GoDaddy's shared hosting, because you can't handle that kind of traffic on, cheapo hosting. So there's that. All right. So tonight we are going to be diving on into Rivers of London in Liberty's Shadow from Chaosium Inc. Going to do that in just a few moments. One thing I wanted to mention, you might recall last week I was talking about, I'm bringing the SUV that I bought in March in to check there was a oil leak. I tell you, and you already know this, all of you watching this, doesn't matter if you're watching live, doesn't matter if you're watching on Memorex, you all know this from your own personal experience, from your own lives. It's always something. Always something. So before I purchased this SUV, I took it in for an inspection, and I did not take it into an inspection right near where I was buying it. I actually took it to a shop near me that I had worked on the old Cavalier. They did the inspection. They said it's got a slight oil leak, but they weren't sure where it was coming from because it was just, an inspection that they did. Then, of course, they had told me that, you're going to definitely need to, at some point in the future, change the control arm up front, different things, right? And of course, it's got enough mileage on it where got to take a peek at the timing belt. I hate timing belts. Why companies couldn't just go with timing chains on vehicles? Well, I take that back. I know why they don't. Because of cost and because people have to end up replacing timing belts. Timing chains normally do not get replaced. But we're going to check that out ourselves because it's not too difficult to take the timing belt cover off and stuff like that. So anyway, I take it in and I'm hoping, I mentioned this last week, I was hoping that it was just going to be the oil sensor because the Subaru Forester is notorious for its oil sensor leaking, that the seals break, whatever. Nope. It's a head gasket leak. Now, keep in mind, it's not a blown head gasket. It is a head gasket leak. So I told the guy when he called me up, I said, hey, you know what? Do me a favor. Put together a quote for what needs to be done on the car. Now, some of this stuff is just based on mileage. So I don't know. I saw the Carfax on this vehicle before I bought it. It was in for different servicing, but there are some things that didn't say what they did. Could be good, could be bad. But there wasn't a lot of there wasn't like when you're looking at a Carfax, if you see like servicing and then 2 weeks later servicing and then a week later servicing and then, oh, it was traded in. That vehicle's got some issues. Well, that wasn't the case here. So anyway, so comes back with $5,000. I'm like, jeez. So I'm hoping when we check, well, once again, I'm not going to tell you what I hope for. Well, we go check the timing belt because we see how that hoping for the oil leak was. The thing that kind of pisses me off is when I went and took it for the inspection, they said it's a slight oil leak. Like it wasn't that big a deal. It's something you could easily take care of. Well, a leaking head gasket is not something minor. Now, it is something that all you got to do is just keep checking your oil and putting more oil in for the foreseeable future. It's not something that's all suddenly going to be like, as we're driving down to Gen Con. So, of course, I called Elliot. I told him, oh, yeah, we're going to have to take your car, which is in worse shape. Because actually, the SUV is really nice. I can't believe it's a 2010. The interior spotless. You can tell it was taken care of. So, the big thing is Elliot doesn't have AC in his van. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, we're going to have to take your van down. It was like, I'm like, nah, I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so like I said, it's always some shit, isn't it? What can you do? You just roll with the punches, right? That's what you do. Roger Perdome and Hector Martinez are with us in chat. Tessie Trekkie is also rolled on in, so welcome. Pete Strackledge says they're about to crack open their very first book from the Folio Society. They've come to terms with their addiction to books. I guess Pete Strackledge didn't want me to continue talking about the car, huh? Fucking joking. Roger Perdome says, by the way, my pre-order from the company we must not name. I never said that we can't name them. The Castles and Crusades Deluxe Starter Set is in my neck of the woods. It's in Palatine, Elk Grove Village, USPS. Well, it's not exactly my neck of the woods, but it's suburbs. Sir D says, friend just bought a car, no accidents on the Carfax. That is not always the case. Opened the glove box when they got it home, found a $7,000 repair bill that included a new windshield because the previous owner had hit a deer. That's a lot of repairs. Hopefully the suspension on that. Hopefully that car is still aligned, or when they did the repairs that they realigned it. Because I would think hitting a deer would absolutely just fuck up that alignment there. Hector Martinez says they're trying to watch all the old school essentials videos. Sweet. I just reviewed Carcass Crawler. In fact, I've got 2 reviews that just popped up. They are right behind me. Well, the books, not the reviews. I'll move out of the way for you. So first off, the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Dwarf Player's Guide. Shared my review of that. That is from Cubicle 7 Games. And then earlier today, I shared my Age of Vikings review. I don't think there's really any Age of Vikings reviews out there. I know, of course, I did a first look video, and I think Dungeons and Dyslexia, they may have reviewed the PDF, or they may have given an overview of the PDF. But that's a review that's pulling some folks in. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. So can't wait. I leave for Gen Con 2 weeks from tomorrow. Obviously enough, there will not be a show on the 29th. That'll be the Tuesday prior to Gen Con, just because I'll be getting ready in that. Since I'm driving, and I think most of you already know that Elliot works from home, so he has to work that day, so we have to make sure that we're in Indianapolis, and he is logged on to some sort of Wi-Fi someplace by 8 a.m. Eastern. I'm going to have to be at his house like 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m., because we're Central Time. We lose an hour going to Indianapolis. Kevin R. Smith says they enjoyed the Age of Vikings review, I guess, as opposed to other reviews I do, and agree about the tiny fonts, though they haven't seen this particular book, just going by the basic role-playing core book. Yes, very similar. For some strange reason, it seems like it's a, I don't know, BRP thing. I'll let you folks check out the review, but fantastic book. Some head-scratching things about the book, though. So find out for yourselves. Anyway, so yes, we're actually doing a bit of a Chaosium Inc. double dip today, because I shared a review of one of their products, and now we are going to be taking a first look at another. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time. Time for refreshment. During the next 10 minutes, you'll find hot dogs, juicy hamburgers, and mouth-watering delicious pizza. There are refreshing hot and cold beverages, ice-cold cola, a wide selection of your favorite candies, and other delicious snacks. And there's always a fresh batch of hot buttered popcorn to go with the rest of the show. So visit the refreshment stand now during this 10-minute intermission and add to your enjoyment of the movie. We're happy to have you with us tonight and hope you'll come back often.
Just go to Action Park. There's no other park like it.
When it's hot out, this is a great place to spend the day with your family. There are lots of big things for little kids to do. I love Action Park because it's so beautiful.
It's like coming to Broadway. It's wonderful.
Race like a pro. It's great. These are the most amazing rides in the world. I love it here.
There's nothing in the world like Action Park.
Say, kids, what is it up in the sky? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Superman. Yes, sir, kids, a real flying Superman that can be yours. Looks just like Superman himself. He's made of tough blue plastic and has a bright red cape that fits on his shoulders. With your flying Superman, you get a powerful launcher to send him sky high, zooming through space just like Superman does in his adventures. Now, you'll want to be one of the first to have your own flying Superman, so listen carefully, because here's all you do to get yours. Send one box top from Kellogg's Corn Flakes and just 10 cents. That's one box top and just 10 cents to Flying Superman, Box 330, Battle Creek, Michigan. Or use the handy order blank right on the Kellogg's Corn Flakes package. Get your Flying Superman from Kellogg's now.
You get 30 slices of toast from a tasty giant loaf. Big deal. I like these punchy commercials.
I'm Dr. West, but this is Dr. Stanley. Now, we've completed going over Dr. Phillips's notes, and I must warn you that we're faced with a very dangerous situation. Dr. Stanley?
A remote island destined for total destruction.
Listen, if you think there's something running loose on this island, you can't leave me alone.
Tony, this could be...
Don't leave me alone.
I'm not very keen on going down in that saddle again.
Out of an experiment on life came a devastating death.
You look safe.
Science creates. Can science destroy?
Now, this is very difficult to explain, but there are some creatures loose on this island, and they're dangerous.
What do you mean, creatures?
I wish I could tell you more, but we just don't know exactly what they are. Come on, let's get out of here. Listen to me! They're inactive now because they've divided, but we don't know for how long, and we can't stay here, so come on!
Oh, David, I'm so frightened!
So am I!
Fiction or fact, this could really happen.
Are you all right?
No!
Listen! This one out here. He's in the car, quick!
Can this horror be destroyed?
David, do you really think we can get out of this?
Well, I think we stand a good chance, a very good chance, yes.
But you don't really believe that, do you?
Not 100% no, but I'd like to believe it.
Can these terrified people be saved from certain death? Fire, bullets, bombs could not penetrate its impregnable shell, but something did. What? See Island of Terror at this theater soon.
I'm sorry, was that Island of Terror or Island of Boredom? Kevin R. Smith asks, how many times did the average kid launch that Superman toy before it got lost? I would take a guess, probably about 2.75. I think that was probably the average launches that the Superman toy got before it ended up in a gutter or a tree or in somebody else's yard that you weren't going to be able to go into. Hector Martinez says it was both. Terrifying boredom. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the tickets. All right, everybody. So tonight, we're going to dive on in and take a first look at Rivers of London in Liberty's Shadow from Chaosium Inc. This 202-page hardcover with PDF is available now. Carries an MSRP of $44.99. If you want to grab that free PDF, be sure to order from Chaosium Inc. Of course, you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $22.99. All right, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got In Liberty's Shadow 4 Rivers of London. The first thing I'm going to do is get the shrink wrap off. A few things to mention before we get stuck in. First of all, my friends over at Chaosium Inc. were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. It's important you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of the book, but I do want to get a good feel for what you're going to find inside. I also believe there are a couple of adventures in here. So players, if your game master is running Rivers of London, if they're planning on moving some of the action to the United States, you have been warned. Probably going to be some spoilers. Not that I know really anything about the adventures, just simply as we're paging on through. Let's take a look at the back here. Nightingale had told me there was a whole tradition of American wizardry, more than just one, in fact. It is from Whispers Underground. In Liberty's Shadow, A Guide to Case Files in the USA, is a source book for Rivers of London, the role-playing game based on the Rivers of London series by Ben Aronovich. London isn't the only place where magic is returning to the world. On the far side of the Atlantic Ocean, old factions are stirring once again to rub shoulders with brash newcomers to the American Twilight subculture, aka the Demimonde. From unofficial monster hunters and hedge wizards to the FBI's basement. Any relationship to the laundry? No, completely different authors. There's a wellspring of mysteries to investigate and secrets to uncover in this land of opportunity. And of course, it's going to tell us what's inside the book. But we're going to find out just by taking a peek. Dark Autumn Scribe has joined us. Said perfect timing. Yes, they're getting in just in time. So here we've got a map of the United States, and it looks as if each state has some sort of a cryptid. So Washington obviously would have the Sasquatch, Bigfoot. What does Illinois have? I don't know. That's kind of an oddball looking, like, three-armed creature, or like five-legged creature. Weird. Kind of cool map, though, I have to say. That's pretty cool. All right, let's take a look at the credits page, because I'm sure a lot of folks work very hard to bring this to life. Let's see. Do we have a traditional credits page? Yes. There we go. So we've got our various different authors, artists, so forth, playtesters on this side too. Special thanks. Clear credit. I got to be honest, I'm not sure how much content has been created, or I guess maybe I should say how much of the game world or the fictional world of Rivers of London includes the U.S. I don't think there have been any novels that take place in the United States. There's probably been some references to the U.S., such as the quote we saw on the back. So I'm taking a guess. Maybe this is all new, and maybe this was, obviously it's run past Ben Abramovich, but still kind of curious. I bet you it'll get into more detail about that. So here is our micro fiction. Ask and you shall receive. What's in the book? What's in the box? What's in the box? All right, come on, quick. Who's going to jump in and give me the movie that's pretty famous from? I tried to make sure I put a little bit of a whininess in the second time that I said that. Chapter 1 contains details on how to create investigators for a US-based game. Chapter 2 discusses the history of magic in the United States post-colonization. Chapter 3 is an introductory case file set in the Montana wilderness. Chapter 4 contains a more complex case file that picks up where the previous case file leaves off. Well, that's kind of cool. Yep, there you go. Runeforged Tabletop Gaming got it first. Hector Martinez also chimed in 7. And W4 asked, is that Rocket Raccoon? I don't think Rocket has the stripes. Copper Fox Wolf is with us in chat and says, yawn from the UK. Oh, because it's that late. I was like, sort of like, oh, yeah, this video is fucking boring. Put me to sleep. Says nearly 2 a.m. over there. Surprised that a game based on a series of UK-based books has U.S. supplement when there seems to be little other than the core book over here. I completely understand where you're coming from. I was very surprised to see that as well. Now, I do believe there are a couple of PDF adventures, or case files, I guess they're called, that have been available. They are not in print. So this is actually the first of the print supplements for Rivers of London. I reviewed Rivers of London. I liked it. I thought it was really well done, having only really listened to, I think it's the first 2 audiobooks of this series. Because I know there are a good number of novels out there in the series. So, and I actually mentioned that you did not have to be overly familiar whatsoever with Rivers of London to really enjoy that book. Let's see. The appendices comprise 5 sections. We get some pre-gen characters, new creatures, a detailed key to the weird and wonderful United States of America map. Hey, we're going to find out what that thing is. Copper Fox Wolves, I've never yawned at your content, Jeff. Sorry there. I don't know. It's just kind of funny because it's like, yawn. Come on, man. Don't you have something better to show us? Sweet. Now, this just came out. Okay, so I swear I saw this and I thought it said, can my player read? It's like, what? What can my players read? Probably allowing them to read kind of maybe the historical background. When and where is the game set? Just as with a London-based game, your American adventures begin in early spring 2016, not long after the events of the novel, what does that say? False Value? Not only are the Follies ranks expanding, but so are those of overseas organizations ready to face the challenges and mysteries presented by Magic's growing presence in the world. If you are not familiar with Rivers of London, some people have a misconception it's urban horror. It is not. It is urban fantasy. There are some horror elements to it, but it is certainly quite different than something along the lines of like, I would say that the, now I'm zoning out on the character's name. He's based out of Chicago too. Yeah, real good, Jeff. Real good. It's like, yeah, you know, what's his face? The Dresden Files series. I couldn't remember the character's first name because it was something I really couldn't get into. I thought the Dresden Files are a bit more on the horror side as opposed to urban fantasy, because the premise here is magic is returning to the world. That's kind of cool. I use this image. There you go, Harry. Thank you, W Forge. I use this image for our preview for my social media posts. The land of the free. I will also mention the font is kind of small. Not as small, well, maybe it is about the same size as the Age of Vikings font, which I mentioned in my review is too small. Should have been a little bit bigger. Although I can make this out, so maybe it's a point larger. In the world of Rivers of London, America is beyond the reach and authority of the Folly and the novel's main characters, Peter Grant and Detective Chief Inspector Thomas Nightingale, officially at least. Still, it has a recurring influence on events in London and the United Kingdom as a whole. As with mundane spheres of human activity, like the economy and popular culture, the United States' history of involvement with magical phenomena does not exist in a continent-sized vacuum. Paranormal events in America affect what happens in the rest of the world and vice versa. This chapter begins with a look at the cultural and historical differences between the police practitioners of the Folly and their cousins across the Atlantic, along with a brief overview of relevant American terminology. Okay. Fake identification, creating fake IDs, acquiring fake IDs. Well, looks like that's supposed to be maybe New York. Although the cover is supposed to be San Francisco. W. Forge says, Chaosium seems to be favoring small font sizes in their books. Hector Martinez asks, like, is this like playing Shadowrun? No, because Shadowrun is like, as an example here, like Rivers of London, most urban fantasy, most urban horror is set in our world, but there are things behind the scenes, behind the veil that we as humans are not aware of. Or, you know, there are only certain people who know of it. Whereas Shadowrun is essentially kind of a science fiction / fantasy / cyberpunk, where it is not our world. It was our world up until the point where where like magic changes everything. So, and then like the fantasy races appear and things like that. In most urban fantasy, most urban horror, the elves, the dwarves, things like that, they're all hiding. So they are not known. So as an example here, we've got an image. It's a woman taking a picture and looks like this is a creature here that just stole her purse. But they're, you know, kind of covered up. They're trying to hide the fact that they're not human. So it looks like we've got quite a bit of information here about law enforcement. Our work looks pretty solid for the most part. There we go. We got our bookmark. W4 says, Shadowrun, I think, uses the word awakening. I think you are correct. The awakening, which is a huge rift that's torn open. I'm not necessarily saying that Shadowrun's setting is a bad thing. I had first edition Shadowrun. I bought a bunch of the splats. I always thought it was a very unique setting, very different, very unusual, kind of like Deadlands. Deadlands, bought all that stuff, bought all the Penny Dreadfuls that came out, never ran it. I just enjoyed reading it. So we've got the history of magic in the United States. And it looks like this is a presentation from a character. So it says from Special Agent Reynolds' files. Indigenous American practitioners. The Resolute Man, Master Practitioner. Of course, Rivers of London is built upon the basic role-playing game. So it is a percentile-based action resolution system. So here, as an example, we've got our strength. These are all percentiles. So strength, con, dex, intelligence, pow, luck. Those are all percentile dice, which I find it kind of interesting with Chaosium, where some of their games still utilize the 3 to 18 range. And then if you need to make a characteristic check or an attribute check, then you're going to multiply that by 5 and then use percentile dice. But then other games just convert it over into the percentile anyway. I think it's kind of odd how that is the case. If off the top of my head, I seem to recall RuneQuest still uses 3 to 18. So here's our first case file. Woolly Bully. So now that's a little too small. Well, okay, let's see. Several of the groups that moved to Montana in the last 10 years had vanished without a trace, since their whole plan in the first place was to live off the grid. The circumstances of their disappearance were hard to determine. Although rumors filtered east, does that say east? Yeah, I think it's east. Yeah, although rumors filtered east of a creature that stalked the night and ate heavily armed survivalists for breakfast. Says this case file is for 2 to 4 investigators and is designed to take around 4 hours to play. Longer if all the optional encounters are included. All right, so once again, players out there, gonna see some spoilers. So we got our plot diagram. So that is one thing that we see in Rivers of London. We kind of get flow charts for our case files. So of course, pretty linear here. We're not looking at a sandbox. But then again, I talk about this when I discuss like horror role-playing games. Horror role-playing games do not really work well as sandboxes. It's got to be pretty linear. Now, of course, you have to make your players feel like it's not linear, but it does have to kind of be linear. And there's Rocket Raccoon again. So we've got a relationship map, how various different characters and NPCs tie together. Here we've got our handouts. Failing to prepare, then be prepared to fail. The approaching year 2000 heralds the downfall of the American way of life. Time is running out, but salvation is within your grasp. Join G2K and prepare to survive. Yes, I remember the Y2K panic. That'd be a pretty wild alternate history sort of role-playing game, right? Where Y2K, really was devastating. Gotta say, there's quite a bit here for an adventure that's supposed to take 4 hours. The Lone Tree. I'm hoping to maybe avoid where we have the monster pop up, because that would be a pretty major spoiler. Yeah, I was going to say, there's a lot in here for an adventure that's supposed to be 4 hours, which is good. I mean, to be honest, I preferred to have adventures be far longer than just, especially when you're purchasing a supplement, it's got a couple of case files in it. I would hate to see them both, 4 hours in length. It's like, well, okay, so that's 8 hours of game time. Kevin R. Smith says 3 to 18 is still the default in generic basic role playing. That's what I thought too. I think they use the percentage characteristics in games they're pitching toward a wider audience of casual players to make it easier to understand. W4 asks, has anyone bought a role-playing game book based on art alone? Keith Strachwitz says there's a zine on Exalted Funeral. It's all art with every word basically from another dimension. Imperial Outpost Games is with us from Arizona. My gosh, I used to pop out to Imperial Outpost Games every once in a while when I lived out in Arizona. So here is our other case file, a regular Picture Palace drama. All right, so there is a gun out there, a very special gun, a piece of American history. Its price cannot be measured in dollars because the gun is magic. People have died for the gun. People will die for the gun. Lost for years, the gun has now resurfaced and a lot of people are after it. Some of them are criminals. Some of them are killers. All of them are a little bit magical. And then there are the investigators who need to find the gun and deal with it without ending up dead themselves. So Imperial Outpost Games. Miss you, good sir. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a long time. I used to tell people all the time on the podcast, the long defunct podcast, that in my opinion, the best tabletop gaming store in the Phoenix Valley was Imperial Outpost Games, bar none. There were a couple, if you've been following the gaming gang for a long time, you know there were some game stores that I thought were just absolute shit out in Arizona. Thought they were just terrible. W4 says the trailer for Weapons gives them a Delta Green vibe. I think this is supposed to be taking place on a Hollywood set. Could be absolutely wrong. Oh, well, okay. So first of all, it's not Hollywood. It's Bozeman, Montana. I have been through Bozeman quite a few times. So we've got Welcome to Bozeman, downtown Bozeman. See, this would be where I'd be curious. All right, so how accurate is this? So I talk about when I see, game books utilizing Chicago, or I listen to an audiobook and it's historical, it's nonfiction, and they're talking about Chicago and neighborhoods and suburbs of Chicago, and it's like, oh man, that you absolutely mispronounced that. It's like, damn. Imperial Outpost Games says this is sounding a bit like Unknown Armies as well. Well, as I had mentioned previously, especially when I did my review of Rivers of London, you don't have to be familiar with the series of novels to actually get into this. But yes, this is an urban fantasy, little bit of horror as far as its genre. There you go. Now we're in LA and Culver City. So I guess they're on location and then they're going to return to Los Angeles. Ooh, looks like we get some ghosts. Ooh. Yeah, looks like got some ghosts cooking in this. Cool. And then it looks like we wrap up with some case seeds where you might be able to have some other adventures that branch off from this case. So here we've got our NPCs. Here's our ready to play investigators. Obviously based on real photographs. So Sean Floyd, entertainer, actor, presenter. I'm not even gonna try. Is that Rumor? I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the last name. Who was a journalist. Okay, so So as far as Rivers of London goes, normally your character is just kind of someone who's starting off with not a lot of knowledge of what's going, like the folly and things like that. But they are not just completely oblivious to what's going on. Right, so we got some new spells. New creatures, talking raccoons, malignancies and despairs, old soldiers. Here's our map, where I was kind of curious, what the hell is the cryptid that's in Illinois? We got our bibliography and resources. So I'm kind of curious. Looks like there's 13 Rivers of London novels that are out there. Okay, so here is the cryptid list. The Enfield Monster. I have to be honest, I'm not familiar with this. W4J asks, can you play as a talking raccoon? Trying to remember it. It's been a couple of years since I reviewed Rivers of London. It's been out for a while. For some strange reason, I don't think you can play as a magical creature. I think you have to play as a human being, I seem to recall. W4 says second edition Unknown Armies had some really small font type as well. Maybe it's part of making everyone insane. Could be. Okay, so the Enfield Monster is a 1.2 meter, 4 foot tall creature with large pink eyes and 3 legs. Each of its feet has 5 or 6 toes. It has an almost humanoid body and short, stubby arms, all covered in gray fur. It can also leap really far. Okay. Once again, not familiar with that. So there's our bibliography, our index. Gonna hit character sheets. Yeah, that's what I figured. Some character sheets here. And some bios. Once again, we have that cryptid map of the United States. And that wraps up a look inside Rivers of London in Liberty's Shadow from Chaosium Inc. Once again, this book is available now. Clocks in at 202 pages. And you can get it with PDF for an MSRP of $44.99 if you order from Chaosium Inc. If you just want to grab the PDF alone, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $22.99. And of course, I will have a review of In Liberty's Shadow in the not too distant future. Madman says Enfield Monster originally reported the sighting was in 1973. Wow, that's a pretty recent cryptid. Well, let's see. So the Mothman was what, 60s? Late 60s, if I remember correctly. In that disaster, wasn't that 68 when that bridge collapsed? I seem to recall that was the case. But yes, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, that legend has been around for centuries. So yeah, kind of cool. I am not necessarily like, I'm into the occult and stuff like that. I like ghosts and stuff like that. I told the story about how we've had our ghost encounters. My family. Madman says Mothman was 66. Thank you. So yes, I have actually told the ghost stories before around Halloween. So I believe there is more than meets the eye in our world. As far as cryptids go, I think it's a possibility because there are still locations throughout the world that have either never had a human being step foot upon or maybe just a handful. And I know a lot of times, having traveled around the country, especially if you live in an urban area and you have like, oh, well, we've got forest preserves, we've got forests. Yeah, but you don't have forests where it's like, you get lost in that forest, you probably gonna die because, it's the trees are right on top of each other. There's all this undergrowth. It's like almost like a jungle. So W. Ford says they remember when the $6 million man went to battle with Bigfoot and he turned out to be an android. He's either an android or a robot from another planet. Oh, I know. Yeah, shit. I just ruined that episode. Oh, sorry. 2-part episode of $6 Million Man for many of you out there. Roger Perdome says, I don't know why, but I never liked that episode. I have to laugh because we used to go out to California on vacation almost every summer. And it was mainly, we stopped in Vegas. I think Vegas was the main attraction, especially for my mom and my grandmother on my mom's side. But we would also go out to California and we would go a few times. We went to Universal Studios. And at that point in time, Universal Studios, when you went on the tour, it was still a working studio. So when you would tour the back lot and stuff like that, that was a back lot that they would use in films. And one of the things that we went through was the tunnel, the weird like turning tunnel. It's like bright blue lights and that in that episode or those episodes of $6 Million Man that Steve Austin runs down, because I think that leads into the spaceship or whatever. It'd been used in other things as well. And we went through it on the tram. And it was kind of weird because the way it would spin and the way the lights were, it made you feel like, you were rotating too. But I thought it was kind of funny. I thought it was kind of funny. So he's mentioning that episode of $6 Million Man. And we went to Universal. In fact, I remember at least 2 times on the tour that we went through that tunnel. Just like the Jaws ride was way different back in the late 70s, early 80s when they built it. I think it was late 70s when they built that. Than like the modern Jaws ride. In fact, I thought the Jaws ride is gone, which would be weird because it's now the 50th anniversary of Jaws. So yeah, Kevin rocked on out. Yes. So Imperial Outpost Games is like, spoilers, Jeff. Yeah. Alien robot or android, one of the two. And the aliens were good. So, Bigfoot was actually good. So there is that. All righty. So what's cooking this week? On tomorrow night's show, we are going to dive in. This is a big box. This is a damn heavy box, too. I almost dropped it. We're going to take a look at the Pirate Republic Africa Gambit from Green Feet Games. I believe this is actually the 2nd edition of the Pirate Republic. So this is not an expansion or anything like this. But Chris Lundgren's popping on in a little bit late. So originally, I was going to share High Noon at Midnight tonight as our Monty Cook month continues. But then I thought, well, In Liberty's Shadow has just come out. I don't think too many people have taken a peek at this. I will take a guess that Dungeons and Dyslexia probably has a review of the PDF already. But as far as like taking a look inside the actual book, I don't think. So I was like, you know what? Let's swap things around a little bit. We're going to take a look at High Noon at Midnight on Thursday's show. Rather than tonight, we'll do it on Thursday's show. And then from Three Sales Studio, this is going to be a week from today, I received Mappa Mundi, or Mundi. I think it's pronounced Mundi. And this is a role-playing game where I do believe the player characters are kind of like chroniclers, and they set off to chronicle all this different wildlife, monsters, creatures, things like that in a fantasy world. And I do believe that this is supposed to be like a combat-less role-playing game, or a role-playing game where combat is like way in the back seat. So we shall see. The artwork I've seen for it looks phenomenal, and it is a box set. So we're going to take a peek at that a week from tonight. All right, that is it for this time out. If you liked the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. I'll also let you know when I share other videos, such as my recent review of Age of Vikings from Chaosium Inc. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, a bigger thank you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're keeping each other company as I'm sharing the news or taking a peek inside a role-playing game book or unboxing a board game. You know what I mean. But of course, there are a lot of folks out there that don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out to watch any of the over 2,200 videos here on the channel. I know, pretty crazy. Over 2,200. Yes. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Once again, I'm Chef Matt. As I bump that. Hey, you get to ring the bell thing again. Anyway, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thank you very much for watching. Until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang. Okay, now we can roll the end.